What's up, folks? It's 2Bricks, and hot off the heels of reviewing my Stinger Mantis design, which I created, then Barweer produced as a kit, I actually reached out to Barweer and I said I would also love to review the Pathfinder freighter, which they have by the very talented designer Papaglop. They very kindly agreed to send me over one for review because I just really wanted to see, after having built mine and having such a wonderful experience with the Mantis, how this kind of stacks up in comparison. It's a much larger set than mine in terms of the overall bulk. This is a 5,611 piece kit, so compared to the Stinger Mantis with only 3,006 pieces, so a lot more mass here. This is truly minifig scale. It has a full interior with lots and lots of really great details in there, so I'm really excited to kind of dive in and show this to you. And I was looking at Papaglop's YouTube channel because I wanted to see if he had done a sort of a detailed overview himself, and I wasn't able to really find a deep dive video, so this is actually really a cool resource to have just for people who are interested in this ship, which I haven't seen a lot of coverage of on YouTube. So super excited for all of that. I have a lot of positive thoughts, and I have a couple of little tweaks and things that I'm a little bit more apprehensive about, but I'll get into those as we go along. Obviously, nothing can just be fully sunshine and rainbows, but spoiler alert, the overall impression here is that this is very good, and I think that the value is insane. I really don't know how Barweer is doing this, but this kit will cost you $161 currently. I looked on their website, and you can get a 5% off coupon code just for simply logging into their website. They give you a coupon code right at the front door there, so take off 5% of that. And I think they run other sales and things throughout the year as well. So this is, I mean, you can get an absolutely insane deal for the amount of stuff that you're getting here. Again, this is 5,611 pieces. It is a massively bulky set. You can see it barely fits on my turntable here. So yeah, I'm really excited to get in and show all of the details to you. And I wanted to give a quick update before I get started. I do have a mock that is upcoming. This is a Lego mock that I have been working on from Andor. So video and instructions will be coming for that very soon. I also have my Venator, which people keep asking about, and people are convinced that I have stopped working on it. I have not stopped working on the Venator. Here is proof of that. And in addition to that, I have many more things on the way. So please do stay tuned. Please follow me on all of my socials, etc., to get all of the latest news. So on with the review. I wanted to start off by showing you the custom KVS fig bash that I made here, just using regular minifig parts. KVS is, of course, the protagonist of Star Wars Outlaws, which this ship is based on, and there's little Nix next to her. And also in the back, we have room for a speeder bike, which I also made myself back when the game first came out. I really enjoyed the game. I don't know why it got so much hate. I thought it was a lot of fun and very well made. But anyways, these are the characters next to the ship, so you can see the sheer scale of it is so awe-inspiring. Like I said, it is truly minifigure scale, so it's, you know, something like the Falcon in terms of its overall bulk, although the UCS Falcon is larger than this set because I believe, in my view, that set is oversized. So the official Lego, 7,000 piece Millennium Falcon, I think is too big, and I think it should be around about this size, and this is the size that this ship here is. So it feels pretty good to me, and it has a couple of features. So we have some engines that move a little bit. We've got some opening ramps and things like that, and then the main kind of attraction here is the interior. So we're going to start peeling away all these layers here. I'm going to take a look at all of that in just a second, but I think a quick note about the actual bricks. So I know that Barweer gets their bricks from various different sources, and the bricks that I was building with for this kit don't feel exactly the same as the ones that I was using for my Stinger Mantis version 2. They feel more like the bricks that I was using for Stinger Mantis version 1. So again, I don't know specifically where they get their bricks from, but this is a much more of a tough on your fingers kind of kit where you have to squeeze the bricks quite a bit harder than you would expect with the leading brand. Whereas with the Stinger Mantis, that felt very close to the leading brand in terms of the amount of squish and the amount of clutch power required. So just know that for this kit, you're going to be squeezing a lot, and you're probably going to get one of those like little rubber mallet thingies to hammer down some of the larger sections, because you're at the beginning, especially, you're putting together a very large sturdy base, which is Technic, sandwiched with large plates. And yeah, that's really tough on the finger. So if you are a young person, this kit is rated for 14 and up, so you know that should be fine. But if you're a younger person that is attempting this, there actually may be a physical strength barrier to that, or you just have to be very patient, or have the help of an adult, or work for a very long time to, you know, diligently get this together one piece at a time, very carefully squishing all of the studs down to make sure it all sticks together. So this is one of those kits, and again, for the price and for the amount of pieces, I totally get it. You know, there's not really a lot of requirement in here for like The mechanism for the Mantis is very, very finicky and requires everything to be perfectly smooth and aligned. So they wanted to get those specific bricks that have that quality to them, whereas this is more of just you build it. Very traditional build in terms of you build, brick on brick on brick, and then some sideways studs on the side construction for certain elements. But it feels very traditional in the way that it's built. So these bricks work perfectly fine for that purpose. But I just wanted to let that be known that every Barweer kit I think has a bespoke brick manufacturer that they're ordering the parts from, that they're sourcing the parts for that particular build. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So let's take a quick look at the instruction manual before we move on to the interior of this bad boy. So a minor nitpick that I did have, this is a beautiful instruction manual, and you can see here it's very thick. The only thing is the way that they've set up the steps here, it's a little bit different to how it was in the Mantis, and I'll show you that in a second here for comparison. But you can see all of the parts that you've previously built are grayed out. And that even applies to sub steps here. So as soon as you put a brick on, then in the next step, that brick is grayed out. And what that unfortunately does create is, for me at least, it created a sort of a frustrating thing where I was trying to see maybe if I'd missed a part or something and I'd have to go back and look what color it was in the step where it was placed on, because you can't see what color it is once it's actually in place. It just becomes another gray brick, and that's a style choice. And I understand that that's just one way of doing it, and it makes things more clear as to what you're actually assembling. But I prefer the way that they did it for the Mantis, which is where everything is faded, but you can still see the individual colors of what was previously placed on the build. And again, that is just a style difference. It doesn't really change how it's built and everything like that, but you can see here you could still tell if I had placed this brick earlier on and I wanted to know what color that was supposed to be, because I think I maybe made a mistake, then I wouldn't have to go back and hunt down that specific brick. I could tell that that's gray on top of orange, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's just a slight difference there, and I just think it's useful feedback for Barweer to have. That I personally don't think that that's as successful of a strategy. And I'd like to know down in the comments what you think about that. Is that something that bothers you? Which kind of method would you prefer to see going forward? So I'm going to go freehand here for a bit, because I really just want you to be able to appreciate all of the external details on this guy before we take off all of the panels and things. So we have a rotating cannon up here, and you can actually pull that out to a certain extent there, and you can place the figure in there so they're manning the turret. And then once the figure is in place, you can put it back down, and I think that's a really nifty way to do that. It's actually kind of similar to what I did for the turret for my Ghost. I had a slightly different setup where it has a bubble turret, so I needed to see the character poking through, whereas here you just need to have the character sort of in place. But I really like how the ladder that's down below there actually connects up to kind of give you the sense that they're climbing into the turret there. So that's very cool. And then up here we have a little entrance. So there's a little hatch there. And I believe this whole section, yes, does come out. And I think this is just giving you access to the internals of the ship. And yeah, I think that's just supposed to be like you get access to the internal, like the vents of the ship and stuff. So you can kind of crawl down in there and get access that way through the top hatch. I didn't actually get to play that part of the game yet, because I've actually not finished the game. Even though I was really enjoying it, I'm just so dang busy all the time. I actually haven't had a chance to go back and play it yet. We have the engines here which move all the way up and down, so that is something that I did get to see in the game. So once you take off, and you have there's basically different flight modes to engage the engines more or less, so that's very cool. I like all of the housing. It all feels quite clean. There's enough detail in here to not make it boring, so we have some asymmetric details throughout. The color scheme here is really nicely done. This is an interesting shade of blue. This isn't really like anything that Lego has. I'll show you a couple of comparisons with other bricks a little bit later on. But yeah, that's an interesting blue. And then I think it matches what we see in the game very well. And then we have cool little details like this little cutout triangle in here, so they didn't skimp out on the detail. And I just really like how all of these shapes come together. Lots of mechanical details along the outside, lots of flexi tubes there, kind of squished into all different formats and configurations. And then we also have the boarding ramp down here that folds out. The landing gear are fixed in place, or they're not removable anyway. They are sort of sliding on a Technic thing that can give them a little bit of in and out slidiness, but once you lock in the actual external frame, these are intended to be non-removable, and that's totally fine. And then yeah, we have here the nice little window as well. So we'll give you a look at all of that interior detail in a little bit, and you can see some of that through here. So these massive windows at the front, you can see the cockpit, you can see the little lounge area with the hollow table through these big windows, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, super happy with how all of this looks. And then on the other side here we have the asymmetric detail, once again with the tubes and things, and there's no access ramp on this side, just the mechanical details. And this all looks pretty faithful to what we see in the game as well. So very, very cool. Finally, before we look at the interior, we have the back ramp, which can come down like this. You just pull it down, and it gives you access to the internals here of this beautiful garage that is very nicely detailed and which totally has enough room to store either Papaglop's mock of the speeder bike, or my own, or pretty much any speeder bike that you want, because this is a huge internal space, and it's very, very nicely realized as well. So super impressed by all that. And then I just want to show you as well, the landing gear are super nicely detailed, tons and tons of great little greebly parts on those, and even little movable, adjustable parts. Here they have the little end of the toe, can be moved up and down, so you can set the angle to just how you like it to be. And then I did want to call out some nice parts usage in here as well, where we have the splat gear used to create these engine outlets with the blue, the trans blue dish in between there to give sort of the engine glow effect, and that's a really nice look. I really, really like that. So yeah, overall I think the exterior really captures what the ship looks like, and there's not much about it that I would say is questionable or weird, choice wise. I think it all basically exactly aligns to what you'd expect for the ship. There's a couple of areas where it's a little bit sort of on the less detailed side, but I think that really is just down to the game model. Like this whole flat wall on here is just white with absolutely no detail whatsoever. And again, I think that's probably just how it is in the game, and it's totally fine. And I'm going to be actually interspersing some game footage in between the actual review here, so you can see what the inspiration for this looks like. So in case I do say anything that is incorrect to what's in the game, I'll call that out on screen with a little note to say, nope, actually that's incorrect. So yeah, just giving you this low angle here so you can see all the guns and things, and little pipes and details of that sort. The guns do tend to pop off, so just watch out for those. If you're picking it up, you want to make sure to not pick it up under here, because these will get knocked right off, and it's annoying to put them back unless you're at a very low angle and you can really see where they're supposed to go. Usually I'm up here and I'm just kind of like, come on, go back in. So yeah, those, I think there's just not really a convenient way to get those exactly lined up the way that they need it to be, unless you just simply stick them to the exterior of the ship. So again, just a totally minor thing that's a little minor inconvenience, but totally understandable. So without any further waffling, let's jump into the interior of this thing where it really starts to sing. Okay, so I wanted to show you the process in real time to get into the interior of this, so you see how long it takes. So you have this top section right here, which just lifts off. And then we have this whole front section here, which you just carefully pull up. And if you want to just have access to look inside, there's a little arm here, like the kind that you would have for the hood of your car, to be able to just have it propped up like that. But I like to actually just push this all the way up and just snap it all the way off. It is just attached with these hinged bricks right here. And then you can put that back down. And then we have this whole ceiling section in here, which I am going to talk about in a little bit. I actually don't think this is necessary for the set, but it's in here anyway. So if you're a minifig and you're looking up, anywhere inside of here, you get a full tiled off interior ceiling. But yeah, there's a single piece right here, and you can take that off, and then you can just lift carefully this whole ceiling part right here. It is attached with a couple of studs down at the back there, so I can just pop loose. I'll just fix that in a second. And then you just sort of carefully slide this up, and yeah, you may have a breakage. Carefully slide this up and out to get access to the full interior. And as I was saying, I don't personally think this is really necessary, because it's something you'll never see unless you are a minifigure, and of course I am not. So but yeah, I did experience a breakage right here, just because it is tough to get it out from underneath this necessary support structure right here. And with all of those parts removed, you can now see the full interior. We can actually just move this, rotate this out of the way so we can really get full access here. And then also we can additionally lift up these panels on the sides, so those go up. So 1 and 2. So you can get those out of the way as well. So you can even access these side corridors here. Again, it's one of those things where you probably just, if you're going to be playing in here for a long time, or you want to display it open, it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and pull these all the way off, because they are just attached with these hinging elements here, which can very easily be snapped off. Just sometimes you will experience some minor breakage when you do that.
But yeah, if you just basically pull this back and keep pulling it, it will just disengage, and you can just go ahead and remove both those sections. So now you have really nice open access to the interior. And Papaglop, being a good designer as he is, realized that there would still be a significant challenge to being able to actually pose minifigures down in this relatively tight interior, because he did go ahead and create the interior to be very accurate to the layout that we see in the game. So it's not really intended for humans to be able to get down from the top and actually access these things. So what he did is made a bunch of the sections of this removable. So you have this entire back section right here, which comes all the way out on its own. So this gives you access to the bunks, storage area, this little kind of cool stairs thing that goes back behind here, and then also the ladder that leads up to the gun turrets, and then the toilet, the fresher as it's called. And I like that it even has the grilled floor in there, so any messes are easy to clean up. But yeah, you can see here you have an absolutely beautiful interior with the corridor and everything like that. So that's removable section number 1. So when you look down in what's left there, you can just see the tiles that support it underneath. And then also we have this section right here, which is the other bunk. And again, we have some nice shelves and storage space in there, and place to pose characters standing in front of the bunk. And these bunks will fit characters. They're very nicely laid out so that they do fit a character in there. And then lastly, we have this little tiny kitchen diorama. So you can, there's no studs to pose characters on this, but you can go ahead and remove that just to be able to see the little details there with the cooking utensils and everything like that. And then that's just where that rests right there. So with all of those sections removed, this is what the interior looks like. And I'm going to go and give you a little tour of each section individually so you can see all the details up close. But yeah, this is what the interior of the ship looks like, bare bones. So let me go ahead and put these removable sections back. All right, so I'm going to give you a tour of the ship using my little K-Vest stand-in minifigure here. Again, minifigures are not included with the set, but you can go up the boarding ramp and you can see there's ample space for a figure to fit through. And once they're inside the ship, you can see we have the crates and the grates on the floor and everything, all very nicely detailed. We have even an openable box right here, so you could put something in there if you were so inclined. Sorry, I have no nails right now, so I can't access that. And all these nice little authentic details like we have with the green little panel right there, and the little spots for like lights and things like that. And then this could be a great spot to place a character's weapon. And then the ship does have this ongoing sort of design thematic element here where the doors are all cut to one side, so they have like the straight edge and then the angled in edge. So that was also represented here very, very faithfully. So very nice there. And then we have the little workstation right here. So it's a tight little space, but you can see here you can upgrade your blasters and things. We have tools, and we have a blaster that's being worked on right there. And then we even have things like these frame elements here that are just stuck into the wall, which are again a part of the design. I'll show you that from the other side in a second. But yeah, moving through this space right here, we then get to a sort of middle hallway that connects you to all of the other parts of the ship. And so here's how that looks from this side here, and then that takes you down through this hallway, which gets you towards the back end of the ship there, towards the bunks, and then the garage eventually. So here's that from the other side. So you can see here even the little details down in here. We have little bits of lighting and different things that are implied here. So these are 2 sort of work lamps, and then we have another sort of workspace station over here. So really, really nicely detailed, and definitely didn't need to be this detailed, but it's all in there, and it was an absolute blast to build, let me tell you. So yeah, coming through from this central room right here, then we have another little access hatch right here, which is big enough to fit a minifigure, sort of, if you can, you can imagine somebody crawling through there in a very tight space. And there's a little control panel in there. Again, I didn't get to do that in the game. I didn't get that far, but I do believe that that's something that is probably accurate to the game, because there's a lot of crawling through little tiny spaces in the game and fixing things and coming out of the other side. So maybe at some point the ship gets boarded or something. I have to look that up. And then we have the sort of cockpit section right here. So the main seats here have a nice little rotation to them, and then the seat backs bend as well. And we have a little control yoke right here, and then some nice screens and things to look at for Kay, so I'll show you that from the other side. And then here's a nice little co-pilot's seat as well, and then 2 additional seats mounted into the wall there in a very nice way off to the side, and even a little storage area so you can throw some accessories down in there for when the characters are seated. So very, very cool. And here's how all of that looks from the minifigure's eye view. When you actually do enter into the room, this is what you see. So it looks very awesome indeed. I really love all the details that were packed into this room. the little kind of scope right there to look through, the sort of binocular looking details right there, and then this little screen off to the side here. It all looks great. Lots of buttons to imagine pressing and things like that. So yeah, then there's this window that looks through into the living area. So in order to get to that, you have to go back down this corridor here, and then take a left, and then you're into this area. So we have a nice little swiveling chair right here, which looks very comfy and cozy. The little gallery off to the side, which I showed you before, just that one little removable section of right down in here. But up here, there's plenty of cabinetry, storage areas. There's a clear bottle right there, some bowls, and all of those good things. And then the iconic, super nice, lush-looking couch and holo table that every starship needs to have, so the crew can get comfy here and hear about their next missions and things like that, and get up to speed while in comfort. I just had a little bit of dog fur right there. And then we also have some more additional crates and wall details. Again, things that are just not at all necessary. Pipes and wall-mounted control panels that all just look absolutely fantastic. And then the grilling does continue all the way sort of down under the table here. It's not 100% consistent throughout, like there's a few gaps and things, but I actually do believe those are probably referenced in the game in some capacity, given how accurate everything else has been thus far. And then moving over here, so we have the bunk. Again, this is another removable section, so this all comes out as one unit. But I really love the consistency of the color scheming through here. Like there's this orange detail. There's a little storage area. There's a little vent in orange down there as well. And then additionally here we have the other two bunks. So you can see those two sections that are removable look very separate, but they're actually in the same kind of living quarters area. There's again some lockers here for characters to keep their stuff while they're taking a nap. Some sort of tanks or bottles here that probably serve some very important function on the ship. And then moving around to this little space. So this is a tight squeeze in here. You could probably just about get your hands in there to get a minifigure. But then there is this opening bottom hatch sort of area down here. So you can see from in here, this whole thing opens up, and it creates a sort of an emergency escape route from the ship, I guess. Again, sorry, did not get that far in the game. And then also we have an opening door in here. So that has a window built into it, and it looks really, really nice, and it slides very, very nicely through there as well. So there's that. And then if you go through that door, you get this sort of engineering section here with, again, some really nice details in here. We have this like pipe that connects to a thing on the wall. I wanted to see if I could pull this out and show you guys. So it's not recommended to do this, but I'm just pulling out to show you guys. It sort of looks like a boiler, right? There's a great little sort of look there for the gold door with like a window in it. So you could really imagine this to be like a furnace. And that just slots down into here. But again, it's not designed to be removable. I just pulled it out to show you guys. So then there's this little corridor through here. And then coming back out of there leads to the main section here with the kind of big open space, right? We have the whole garage storage bay in here. And then just really quick over here is the angled. I really like the way that this was situated in here, using the ball joint in just to kind of keep it in place. So this isn't intended to actually rotate. It's meant to be fixed in place, but it's on a turntable. And then this lines up so that the characters, you could imagine climbing up and going into the actual turret. So very, very cool. And then when you have the ceiling section on, the part that I said I don't think is really necessary, it actually clicks in using the upside down studs. It clicks into this part right here. And almost always when you pull that roof off, you're going to pull these off with it. And it's a thing, you just have to go back and reset it, and it's fine. But I do have a suggestion for how I would keep this long term if it was me, and I'll show you that in a little bit later on. But again, continuing down here, the finish on all of the floors and stuff is really nice. They continued all of the consistency with the grates down there all the way through, and then that kind of brings you back to the beginning here. So you can see there another little door, and you can come right back to where you started. And then just finishing the tour here, the garage has, again, lots of authentic details. The seats are where they're supposed to be. Again, this speeder bike is not included. I just wanted to show that it does fit. And on the opposite wall, again, lots of nice pipes and consistent details that run all the way through. The pipes, you can really imagine things flowing through those around the ship. A little chest here on the table, and then the little crate down here as well, all of which are just nicely buried in here using panel pieces to give an extra bit of room behind these, so you can sink these in a little bit and angle them so that they feel really organic in how they're placed without taking up room in the actual internals. So really cool. I was expecting that this section right here would actually have a little thing that travels through it as the ramp opens and closes. Like I thought there was going to be like a little piston actuator thing, and that probably is just because that's how it is in the game. and they just wanted to imply that mechanism, and that's how that there's a little kind of runner through here that raises and lowers this back door section right here. But yeah, no such detail is present in the actual model, and that's totally fine. I was like, oh, that's going to be a thing, and then oh, it wasn't. Again, that's just on me for forgetting what was actually included in the game. So there you go. And I like the clean floor here for the back section here, so it makes it really easy to place vehicles and things. But it is annoying because your characters don't really have anywhere to place their feet except for just a spot right here, single stud, to place a character's feet down or have them sitting in one of the benches. But yeah, I would just like, it's a personal preference thing, but I prefer there to be just a couple more studs around for characters to be able to stand. And you can see here, really, the main areas that have studs are right down here in the first section here with these studs that run down the middle, and then pretty much everywhere else is tiled off, and then you have the area over here in the bunks where characters can be standing. Maybe it's even supposed to be like carpet or something over that in that section. But yeah, characters can be standing outside of their bunks chatting, and then pretty much everywhere else is grill tiles or tiles. So there that is. So, oh yeah, and then the bathroom right down in there. So the interior of this was super fun to build. It actually really reminded me of a couple of different UCS sets. Like it reminded me of the Cantina set that we got, and it kind of reminded me of the UCS Razor Crest a little bit in terms of the way that has a really fleshed out interior that feels like it's not just an afterthought, it's actually an integral part of the design. This reminded me of that experience, and I really had a blast building all of those different elements. So yeah, I think that to me is my favorite part of this whole build, is just coming together all that interior stuff, and then slowly you start to put the externals on the ship. You put the side panels on, and once all the internals are kind of built up, you start building up the outside. So yeah, it's really interestingly done, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the build. So as far as the roof goes, I actually suggest that you just remove this section of the roof right here and use it on the internals of the ship, and jettison most of this most of the time. If you want to just store it and you don't want to open it up and you don't want to look at it, it's cool to have, right? But you can go ahead and just dispose of that for when you're playing, and then simply go ahead and attach this where it normally attaches. So just clicking into these two bar pieces right here, so that you have the look for the internals of this hangar bay. So it has that nice rail detail that connects in there, and then you don't have the ceiling that traps you from being able to see all the rest of this beautiful interior space. I actually think that gives you the best of both worlds, and this is how I'm going to be displaying it full time. So I'm just going to have that in there like that. And I think that is a great look too. So absolutely totally worth having that section in there. And then I think yeah, the rest of it is just going to go in my spare parts bin for the most part, but of course you can do with it what you will. But yeah, this is one part where I think this really gives you a great look, and it really is something that's kind of essential to the overall appearance of the ship. And the rest I don't think you really need. And even when you have the rest of the this top section, the roof attached here, it looks really great with all the pipes and stuff visible under there. That's absolutely awesome to look at, and you can really admire it from back here. And again, I don't think you lose anything by not having the rest of the ceiling attached. And a couple of last little things I wanted to touch on. So for the gun turret, there actually isn't enough room for a minifigure to be standing under here. So what I would suggest is you dive into the spare parts and you get yourself one of these, which there's a whole bunch of spare parts included, and you can go ahead and just place this right down in the middle here. So that's all you need, and then the character of Kay can sit down like she's, you can imagine she's manning the turret like that, and so that's all you need is just that extra piece. And I know for a fact that you have one of these in your spares because there's actually supports that you put under the ship when you're building it before you put the landing gear on. But after, it would be nice to have some supports in there, and then this piece came with the support. So yeah, totally, you for sure have that, and then your character could just sit in here, like I said, be manning the turret. And then for this little section right here, it may be kind of annoying and confusing for how you actually gain access to the little kind of opening door sections here, so you can actually place your characters in there. But you basically just have to pop a finger in and then push those doors out. But if you want to have an easier access to that whole interior, though, when you're building this, you can literally just leave off, because this is inside the ship anyway, you can just leave off one of these panels, and then you can just build it the same like so, and then that way you could just get your finger in there really easily. Not so much for the other side, but then you can just push your finger through, and then you can just see Kay crawling through the vents, or if it's Nyx or whatever it ends up being. I do have to research that part of the game, like I said. But yeah, then you can have a character crawling through there much more easily, and you can even close them up and you can, later on, you can retrieve them more easily by just reaching a finger in there. So that's my suggestion for that. It's just more annoying to have to try to like go down from the top and open up a little door there. So just leave yourself a little access. So the other thing people always want to know is it swooshable? Well, you can basically pick the ship up from the sides and you can move it around. It's heavy, but it's not like unwieldy. And you can basically just plop it down on the landing gear, no problem. You can't pick it up from the front section here because this is all just sort of connected in with some Technic pins, this whole front section here, so don't do that. And then all of this, like I was explaining before, the guns are fragile. So yeah, you don't really want to handle it anywhere up at the front here. The back is fairly sturdy. It's got this nice sort of rigid two spines back here that run through the center section, and those are sturdily built, so you can get your hand under here, but I wouldn't suggest placing it on the front. So the safest thing to me here is just watch out for the secret door under here and then the main hatch right here, and just sort of place your hands around them and just pick it up that way, and yeah, you're pretty much good to go. And yeah, it can be swooshed, although of course I wouldn't recommend you go swooshing it around the house too much, but it can be picked up and moved pretty easily, and it really is designed to be more of a play set where you open it up and you place your figures in there and recreate the drama of the whole thing than it is to be swooshed about like a toy. So yeah. And then I just wanted to take a look at the blue accent color here, which I had previously mentioned. So these are most of the common blues that Lego makes, and as you can see, this color does not match up with any of those. It might be that it's a similar color to the sort of the Mirsk blue, but it looks a little too dark for that and a little too desaturated. I'm not really sure if there is a common equivalent in the Lego color palette right now. So, this is, for reference, this is the dark azure and medium azure color, this is what I assumed the accent color would be. And there are actually some medium azure pieces included in the actual set. There are some medium azure pieces, and you can see that is not the same color. So it is interesting to me that they went with a really uncommon shade of blue for the accent color here, and I think that's really cool because it just makes it feel a little bit more special and a bit more bespoke and a bit more unique. And then on the topic of the blue, I just wanted to point out that there are a few areas specifically concerning these 1x3 tiles where the color is just a little bit different than all the rest. All the rest matches really, really well. This one is just a hair lighter, and that could just be a single batch issue. But I did notice that all of the 1x3 tiles on my particular one were just a little bit lighter than the rest. And you can kind of see it up here too. So it's just a slight bit lighter than the rest of this right here. But again, it's not that noticeable. And I just did want to point that out because I just want to be fair about everything when I do my reviews. But I do overall really like this choice of accent color. I think that it is really nice. So heading into my final thoughts about the model, I honestly think that it's kind of incredible, and I don't know what kind of witchcraft or voodoo magic or deal with the devil Barweer has made to be able to produce sets of this caliber, of this size, of this piece count for the prices that they're doing. But I hope that it never stops, because this is honestly kind of blowing my mind here. And the build experience, thanks to this being an actual set that was licensed from a designer who is very experienced at within the Lego community, and then translated over to being a Barweer set, you know that you're getting a really quality design here. The name Papaglop is very well known. You can check out some of his other mocks and things. Check out Replicable, YouTube, etc., and you can see his work. And so you know that you're getting a quality product here. And what Barweer is just doing is just facilitating the general public being able to get their hands on this, which is normally something that only the most hardcore collector and fan of this video game would go out of their way to get, because the amount of pieces required, the amount of effort, the amount of shipping, the amount of time that it would take to acquire all of the parts yourself, you really have to be committed to this, and this really has to be like your favorite ship, right, to really go to all of that effort. And they're just saying, hey, you know what, you can just go ahead and just get it. You can buy it, and it's in the box, and they ship it to you, and you got the instructions, and you're good to go. And that's frankly absurd. And for the price that they're doing it at as well, I honestly don't know how they're turning a profit. So absolutely amazing. And I'm just so happy that Barweer sent this to me for review, because it lived up to my expectations pretty much every step of the way. The only thing I guess that I could ask for is that the brick type that is used here is the kind that doesn't stress out my fingies when I'm pushing them down quite as much as these do. And again, after a little while, this has been together now for about a week. It's held itself together, no problem. No, there's no structural issues or anything like that. And it's heavy. You do every now and then have things that want to kind of pull themselves apart just a little, and you go and you squish them all down, and then you're good again for another however long. And as long as you're not, doing anything too strenuous with this thing, as you're just using it as intended, you should have no issues. But yeah, it is just that kind of that
that slight bit of difference to what you're used to that makes for a slightly more challenging build experience. So I guess the only thing I could ask for is that all builds across the whole Barweer platform rely on the same bricks, so you know from build to build exactly the type of bricks that you're going to be getting. Or if it's just a matter of consistency across the different batches and the things that their brick producers create, it could just be that there are just differences across the batches. I don't really know. But as far as I'm concerned, this went together very well. It was a very, very good building experience. And like I say, for the price, it's absolutely insane. So I really can't complain too much. And I'm really, really appreciative to Barweer for sending this over to me, because I think any collector of Star Wars stuff, any fan of the video game whatsoever, if you even slightly enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws and you have an interest in this and you think, the ship was pretty cool, you're going to love having this in your collection. And building it is going to give you an appreciation even more so for all of the things that are on the interior, and seeing it all recreated so faithfully and seeing it all laid out exactly like it is in the game to perfect minifig scale is just a delight. There's something magical about that. Even though there are no minifigs included, it's very easy to get your hands on a nice looking KVS. Again, I just made my own and it's whatever. But again, if we just take a look at the scale, right, of these two things, if I start it down real quick, I mean, it's absurd. Like this is ginormous. It's beautiful. It's super well designed. It's super fun to put together. So, what else can you really ask for? So yeah, those are my concluding thoughts here. Another fantastic job by Barweer. A great job by Papaglop, and I'm just very, very thrilled to have this thing in my collection. So if you do want to help out the channel a little bit and you're intending on purchasing this for yourself, you can use my affiliate link down in the description, and that helps me out a little bit, gives me a little bit of a boost that can help me to either buy some additional Barweer sets or just put those towards other mocks and things on the channel. So that's all really cool and handy, and I really appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's purely just commission for me for sending you to their website. So yeah, do use that if you want to help. Everybody was doing that already for the Stinger Mantis, and I greatly appreciate it. That actually helped me out a lot, and it helps to make up for the deficit of what used to be ad revenue for YouTubers to be able to rely on, which we really don't have anymore. So we have to supplement in different ways, and this is one of those ways. So thank you if you choose to do that. And now I'm going to move on to my patron shout out for the video. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you stick around for the end, I appreciate that too. YouTube likes it when you watch the whole video, and there's some cool stuff coming, so check it out. But if you did watch up until this point and you do decide to check out now, thanks anyway. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you on the next video. And today's patron shout out for the video is going to go to Nicole. Nicole, thank you for supporting me all of this time. You are helping me to be able to afford all of the things that I need to afford in order to keep this channel going, so thank you very much. You're going to get your character fan art today, and you're going to get the character of Colney. Colney is a Thelan Rebellion X-Wing pilot, and she's known for being able to fly just about anything into incredibly dangerous territory, and it's going to be very interesting when I actually get to the ship part. I'm going to be designing a new Rebel Alliance ship for your character to be flying in, so very excited for that. Designing a new Rebel starfighter slash ship is a very daunting prospect. Of course, the Alphabet Squadron is some of the most legendary starship design in Star Wars history, so wish me luck on that. That's it for today. I'm going to get to work on the next video, but if you guys want to get your own custom character art, spaceship design, discounts on my Rubricable store, access to twice monthly live hangouts, and tons of other perks like instructions for exclusive models, head on over to patreon.com/2bricks and check out the tier that seems the best to you. Thank you guys again for watching. I'm going to get to the next video. Thank you again to Barweer for sending over the set for review today. Hope you guys got something out of the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.